Good morning and welcome to your daily weather operations brief. Out here on the shore, seeing plenty of cloud cover streaming in across the region in the form of both low, mid, and upper level cloud cover. And that's all tied to some unsettled weather that is currently moving through the region and that we do anticipate continuing to be the highlight of this afternoon as we move into the later hours of the workday and concluding the day later on. Now, if we take a look at our current radar scan here, we do see some convective activity off to the west. That is continuing to push northeastward, so it might look that it's heading this way, and we might indeed see some impacts from that cluster of storms over there, but in general, those storms have been what we call training in the northeastwards direction. So a very slow eastwards progression, and in general, just kind of lingering in the same spot. Again, we might see those storms work their way over, but it will definitely take some time. Now, as we look at this morning's surface analysis here, we can see a low pressure system is currently sliding across the eastern Great Lakes region, and that is with an associated cold front that is draped across the Appalachian Mountains, with much of that shower and thunderstorm activity again sitting off to our west. And as we move through the morning and into those afternoon hours, we're going to continue to see these scattered showers and thunderstorm chances persisting as we see a lot of this activity tied to an upper level trough that will be passing through the region, as well as a short wave that's propagating through that upper level trough, and that's going to drum up a lot of this convective activity. However, looking at our upper level sounding profiles, kind of what the makeup of the atmosphere looks like, we do see that our chances for severe weather look to remain limited, and the greatest chance of seeing some adverse weather is going to be in the form of some higher rainfall totals. Again, kind of associated with that idea that those storms are training along in the same spot. And that's due to a couple different reasons. We do have weak upper level flow. We have a decent amount of instability, but it's spread out throughout much of the column, and we do have a very saturated air mass as of current. So all those things together do give us the chance of seeing a reasonable amount of rain if one of those isolated showers does happen to pass overhead. Otherwise, our wind and hail and more severe factors do remain, or do appear to remain, somewhat limited for this afternoon. Taking a look at the current weather out here on the field, we do have a scattered layer at 1,700 feet, a broken deck at 9,000, and another broken deck at 11,000 feet. And due to some mist in the area, we are seeing our visibility drop down to 2.5 statute miles of visibility. Our winds are currently out of the southwest, at 6 knots, with our temperature sitting at 79 degrees and climbing, with a relative humidity of 90%. And if we take a look at the satellite imagery here, we can see those southwesterly winds propagating up across the peninsula, along with much of the generalized flow with these storms. And again, we can see those storms are more so pushing northeastwards, and not necessarily towards our area directly. And that's why I say, if we do see any impacts from that cluster of storms off to the west, it should be in a good amount of time for now, a couple hours or an hour or two at the very least. Looking at some model runs for today, this is a high-resolution model here, and we'll wait for it to loop around. But as we see that convective activity early, we do see some remnants of a line passing through in the mid-afternoon hours during peak instability or peak heating, and as we move into the evening when that instability is going to look to be greatest. And then we do see a downwards trend in that overall activity, and we'll touch on at the 10 a.m. briefing what tomorrow looks like given that propagation of this cold front. But overall, seeing our rain chances kind of stack towards the earlier portion of the day and of the forecast period, which we can see here. So our rain chances looking to persist until the end of our working hours today, and then we see that taper in the downwards direction, seeing broken cloud cover for a majority of the day, and then we do see improvement in the early hours of tomorrow. Temperatures look to climb into the mid 80s today and fall back down to the low to mid 70s. So a very warm to mild evening tonight, kind of tied to that lingering cloud cover, is going to help trap in some of that energy. And then as far as our winds go for this afternoon, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots in that ballpark. It does look like our earlier portion of the 24 hours ahead looks to be the gustiest, so that is going to be our best time or best chance of seeing a wind advisory. Otherwise, we do remain rather consistent in those upper teens for those gusts, and then as we move into the overnight hours, we'll see those winds drop off pretty steadily and become light and variable before shifting out of the northeast on the backside of that front when it passes through, if it does not linger overhead. If it does linger overhead, our rain chances for tomorrow will be affected. And it's also worth noting that overnight we may see some low-level cloud cover to accompany this movement. And that will bring us on to the next few days ahead. On Tuesday, looking at partly to mostly cloudy conditions, kind of depending on where that front ends up. We do see green conditions overall with a high around 80. But then Tuesday night, we'll see mostly cloudy conditions, that front potentially lingering or sliding back through the area, and that's going to bring us the elevated chances of rain showers and thunderstorms, and we'll see a low in the mid-70s. Winds do not look to be that problematic as of current, as well as those ceilings. However, if we do have some storms passing through, those ceilings could easily drop, as well as visibility. And then Wednesday, lingering showers look to be on the table, partly to mostly cloudy with a high once again in the mid-80s. Pretty standard, typical of what we've been seeing recently. Temperatures have kind of stayed in the same ballpark. But overall, that is going to conclude the daily weather operations brief, and we'll be back at 10 a.m. with the 7-day outlook. Hope everyone has a wonderful